Ronnie Rocket, the screenplay, typed, open brackets, or scanned actually, close brackets, by Mike Dunn and Jim Pellman. Note, there are several typos in the script, and in a few places the dialogue is attributed to the wrong person. These errors are in the original script, and therefore have been retained here. Ronnie Rocket, of the absurd mystery of the strange forces of existence. Property of David Lynch. Registered with the Writers Guild of America. Black. Fade in, a giant stage. Enormous with black curtains, open. The entire stage is filled with a wall of fire, 200 feet high. Within the fire are thousands of souls screaming out silently. Only the roaring of the fire fade out. There is a dark land where mysteries and confusions abound, where fear and terror fly together in troubled cities of absurdities. Black clouds race by over a soot-covered city, where it is dark as night. Only a few tiny yellow squares of light in the old buildings and factories. Everything is so dark. Very little life is noticed, except the tiny, dark yellow squares. There are no cars seen from this high angle looking down over the city. No people out this night. A closer look at some of the buildings reveals a 30s style architecture, although quite plain and very massive. Office buildings with heavy industrial factories. A smokestack pours tons of heavy black smoke slowly and silently into the dark night sky. Hundreds of heavy electrical wires crisscross through the sky, and electricity hums come from giant boxes on the poles. The headlights, and then a car. It moves slowly below, down a street, then turns out of sight. An old neon sign over a diner says City Diner. A large old hospital, and the front steps. Inside, a nurse goes by wheeling a patient on a rolling bed. The corridor is now empty. Moving slowly through the empty corridor, an open steel door. Down now, 2 flights of cement stairs and along a dark and moist corridor, off of which sit decaying subterranean hospital rooms. We hear the heavy machinery that keeps the massive building operating. Pipes leak rusted, festering water into puddles on the cold floor. Entering one of these small decaying rooms, we see an old hospital bed. A dim name tag on the end of the bed bears the name Ronald DeArt. In the bed, under the white sheets, lays Ronald DeArt, who, because of some strange unnamed happening, is now here quite disfigured. There is no human form to him, really, except he does have arms and legs, but they're under the sheets. The chest and head area are very strangely shaped, but there is a hole for a mouth and a nose. In the mouth there are teeth, and a tongue which moves. There are 2 eyes above the nose hole. The eyes dart back and forth. Suddenly and quite mysteriously, there is a detective now standing in this room. He wears black pants and shoes, a white shirt, a black jacket which is now hanging on a rack over against the cement wall. Over his shirt, he wears leather straps and a shoulder holster, which supports a .38 pistol under his arm. He is standing, looking at the hospital bed. Ronald DeArt is now making some sounds, very high-pitched whines, and is attempting to reach a piece of paper which lies on a movable steel tail next to his bed. The detective moves in closer and hands the paper to Ronald, who contorts in order to get his arm over to it. More high-pitched whines, and a knocking of his hand on the table near a pencil, which leaps with every hit, lets the detective know that Ronald now requires a pencil with which to write. Ronald, very shakily, scribbles out the following symbols: and all the while he makes very long, high-pitched whines. The symbols are a closed circle, below which is an inverted horseshoe. To the right of the closed circle is a rhombus with a negative sign on the upper left and a positive sign on the lower right. Below this is another rhombus with a positive sign on the upper left and a negative sign on the lower right. To the right of the negatively charged rhombus there is a negative sign. To the right of a positively charged rhombus is a positive sign. The detective takes the paper to a small lamp across the room and looks the symbols over. He folds the paper and continues to hold it as he turns toward Ronald again. He comes up closer to Ronald. Ronald makes some more noises. The detective now is very close to Ronald, looking into his eyes. Very faintly, the big close-up of Ronald stays double exposed as the detective turns, gets his coat, and goes quickly out of the room. Putting on his coat, he looks suspiciously left and right down the dark corridor. No one. He goes down the hall and disappears around the corner. No one is on the street as he crosses it to a large building where he stops and looks back to see if anyone is following him. He looks carefully all around. Satisfied with the situation as it is, he turns back again and goes down the street into the darkness. Ronald's close-up fades. Now, the detective is in the train station. Several people are boarding a black steel train in a dimly lit passenger loading area. The detective climbs aboard and finds a seat. Even with lights on, it is still so dimly lit. The cigar and cigarette smoke is very thick. People talk, but not too audibly because the train and station sounds are so loud. It is a dull crowd of very poor working class people. The train begins to move and rumbles through the night. At the first station, nearly everyone lets off. An arcing of electricity and on again to the next station, which appears to be the last because everyone gets off except the detective. The people hurry through the underground station, then all is deserted. The train continues to make sounds but doesn't move. A conductor appears and finds the detective still aboard. Conductor, speaking loudly. Off the train, detective. I want to go deeper into the city. I'm a detective. Conductor. You? A detective? Detective. Yes. Conductor. Train doesn't go far into the city. Can only go one, maybe two more stations. Closed up beyond that. No one. You want to go? But only one, maybe two stations? Detective. Can I get another train to go further? Conductor. No more trains ever beyond here, never go. Now, 3 people. Parenthesis. Looks up with a, now this is curious, expression. At this, 2 strange-looking people slowly enter the train car from the other end and begin coming toward the detective and the conductor. Conductor. Board! The conductor leaves the car and the other 2 sit down and look at the detective, then at each other, then down at the floor, then up at the detective. Outside, the conductor yells something which echoes in the background. Then someone, way far away, yells. The conductor yells again, and the train begins to move very slowly ahead, with much grinding metal sounds. Streaking along, the train moves into even heavier darkness. Occasionally a light can be seen outside the windows, but mostly all is black. The lights in the train dim down lower as a humming sound comes from above the trains. The train slows and enters the station. The station is empty and very old. It looks completely unused. Papers and dirt are blown throughout. Windows are broken, and most of the lights are out. The outside is suddenly lit up considerably by a huge electrical arcing of a wire on the train. It stops, and the lights inside come up slightly. The conductor walks quickly into the car, and as he goes by the three of them, conductor, bad repair, electrical sparks. Outside, the electricity arcs again, and the train jumps forward. It moves along slowly, and the giant humming sound is now constant. The train goes through darkness, then comes to an area where there are only some light bulbs strung on wires, and then the train slows to a grinding halt. The two across from the detective leave the train as the conductor walks in. Conductor, end of the line. Detective, is this the station? Conductor, no one uses the station. All that's left. We have train trouble now, a bad place. Get off the train now. This is the end of the line. From here on, you're on your own, bub. The detective steps off the train, and the train begins backing up out of sight. The detective steps off the train, and the train begins backing up out of sight. The detective stands near a bulb. Moths fly against the bulb, over and over again. They hit at it, trying to get at the light. The detective watches the moths. There are noises. The detective turns. He is surrounded by snarling black dogs circling him, moving closer. The detective freezes with fear. Now, out of the darkness comes a group of men wearing black woolen overcoats, black hats, gloves, and boots. They stamp their feet up and down as they slowly surround and moving closer to the detective. They join with the dogs and become like the moths around the light bulb. Suddenly, the animals attack and quickly beat the detective to the ground. One of the men zaps the detective with a huge electrical jolt from an electrical handgun, which is shaped like a cattle prod. The detective doesn't move. They continue to circle, they zap him again, and the ground begins to smoke. Now laughing, they storm off into the night with the dogs. The detective strains to open his eyes and maintain consciousness. Detective, parenthesis, out loud to himself. What has happened to this place? Now out of the darkness comes an old man, Terry. In fact, one of the two people that travelled on the train with the detective. He's an older man, rather mean looking, and wears one pant leg rolled up exposed in a gauze bandage. He carries a fly swatter with him, and from time to time swats his sore leg with the bandage. When the sore is particularly acting up, Terry turns the swatter around and digs under the bandage with the wire handle. Now Terry circles the detective slowly eyeing him. Terry, get up. Get up here, out of the light. I was supposed to meet you, but had to get rid of that guy I was travelling with. Now you listen to me, and listen carefully. Answer my questions too. You're new in this part of the city, right, sucker? Detective, yes. Terry, yes. Just what I thought. What a mess you seem to be too. I meet a lot of people, and I can tell a few things about them. I can see that you are a mess. Detective, settle down. Terry, don't try to tell me. I'll tell you. I can tell you that too. Believe me. Detective, well, tell me then. Terry, you want to go further into the city, to the inner city. Detective, yes. Terry, can you hold a fort? Detective, what? Terry, can you hold a fort? Detective, I can think, if that's what you mean. Terry, my God, we're going to have trouble. Let me ask you a question. Where did you get that ugly, fresh face? Parenthesis, silent. Let me say it another way. How is it that you came to an arrangement of features such as that which you're exposing to me now? Can you answer that? Detective, no. Terry, this is unbelievable. Are you a detective? Detective, yes. Terry, okay, smart guy. What are the 3 rules of a detective, then? Detective. Stay alert, concentrate, stay clean. Terry. Right. Now there's new rules in this part of the city, see? New rules. Say, new rules. Detective. New rules. Terry. That's right. It's hard to understand, hard to concentrate. I don't know if you heard me. Detective. Yes, I heard you. Terry. What did I say? Detective. You said it was hard to concentrate. Terry. Where? Detective. In this part of the city. Terry. That's right. Now where you want to go, the inner city, it's impossible to concentrate, see? Huh, buddy? Do you comprehend what I'm telling you? Detective. Yes. Terry. So? Detective. So tell me what I have to do. Terry. Hell, I suppose you want me to do it for you too. You don't even know. Detective. Yes, I know some things, but not everything. Terry. God help us. We are really gonna need it. Look at this detective, eh? Let's get in off the street. This is going to take some time to explain. Terry takes the detective along a street lined with old cheap hotels. He leads the detective to one of them. Outside the door, a mangy black dog growls. The detective jumps back. Terry. Hey, it's a dog is all. Detective. I'm afraid of dogs, and they know it. Inside, behind the desk, there is a clerk who's sleeping. The detective rings the bell and the clerk answers. Inside, behind the desk, there is a clerk who's sleeping. The detective rings the bell and the clerk awakens slowly, as if he may have been drinking a lot. Detective. How much is a room here? Clerk. 3.5 a night. Hut shut. Detective. Oh yeah? Clerk. Parenthesis, staring defiantly at the detective. Yeah. And you have to share the room with some knitters. Detective. Knitters? Terry quickly places his hand over the detective's hand as a signal for him to be quiet. Terry. That'll be fine. We'll share the room with the knitters. Clerk. Who's renting this room, you or him? Terry. He's paying for it, and I'm making the arrangements. Okay. Is that okay by you? Clerk. Yeah, maybe so. You're in 5B. Top of the stairs. Turn left. That's 3.5 in advance. The detective gives him the money and the clerk hands him the key to 5B. At the top of the stairs, he and Terry turn left and go to the door of 5B, open it, and enter a tiny hotel room. Old wallpaper, some floor lamps, and an old iron bed and 2 filthy old women sitting in chairs at opposing walls. The knitters. One knitter is actually knitting, the other is sewing a button on a dirty old sweater. Terry digs into his wound with his fly swatter and then looks closer at the sewing of a button. He smiles a curious smile at the detective. The knitters are talking while this is happening. Knitter 1. I feel terrible. I just have no energy and I feel nauseous. Knitter 2. I have a terrible cold. It's gone in the back of my throat now and in my ear. Knitter 3. Ah, now you know how I felt. I felt horrible. Remember I had 2 colds? The second one last week was the worst. I never felt so bad. Now it's in my chest. Just wait till yours goes into your chest, and then you'll maybe know how drained I feel. Just drained. Have we said 2 knitters? Okay. Knitter 2. I guess I never told you about my back. Terry, parenthesis, still leaning over near knitter 1, close to the button. As Terry speaks, the knitters shut up. See? The button. Detective? Yeah? Terry. See? Detective. Yeah, I see the button. Terry. See the needle? The thread? Detective. Yeah. Terry. Parenthesis. Speaking as if any minute the detective will suddenly understand. The needle goes in and out. The needle goes in, comes out. It turns around, And then, premises very loud, it goes back in again. Detective, jumping back. Yeah? Terry, damn it. It's a symbol. Don't you understand a damn thing? Symbols, numbers, parables, mysteries? This is what I'm trying to tell you about. Detective, what's with the button, Terry? Terry, it's a process, see, of steps, a rhythm, involving a continuum, i.e., the thread, you idiot, and the needle. Now what do you suppose the needle stands for? Detective, I don't know. Terry, you don't know? Or can you guess? Detective, well, possibly it's, Terry, yes? Detective, or possibly it's, Terry, yes? Detective, I don't know. Terry collapses. Terry, my God. Detective, will you tell me? Terry walks over to knitter 2. Terry, look at this, a knitter. Look, 2 needles, working. See? Look, yarn, a continuum, the fabric, the form. Detective, what are you trying to tell me? Terry, I don't go around explaining the unexplainable, buddy. Detective, oh yeah? Well, tell me, Terry, what we have to do. Try to tell me in a realistic way, using words. Terry, it's not so easy. Detective, try. Terry, it's a man named Hank Bartels. Detective, stepping closer to Terry. Yes? Terry, he's the problem. Detective, stepping close to Terry. Yeah? How so? Terry, he's got all the electricity, see? Detective, yeah? Terry, and he's got the electricity fouled up, reversed or something, so it's around the wrong way, and all the power is sucking up light. He's making darkness as fast as you can pee your pants, and with the darkness, buddy, comes confusion, and this confusion gets stronger as you get close to him, i.e. Hank Bartels, which you've got to do, but you can't do. So if you did, but you wouldn't even remember your own name. See? Detective, if I lose consciousness, I die. Terry, hey, it's the same with everybody here. So, are you beginning to see a picture forming on the old litmus paper? Francis points to his head. Detective, not really, Terry. Terry, look, here's a map, see, of a city. The detective looks down with Terry to study a map of the city. This here's the inner line where Hank is, but no one's allowed to go there, see? So my friend, or circle friend Bill, see, he maybe was going to take you in there, but now he won't, so anyway. He was that guy that was with me on the train, and hey, watch out for him, man, because he's mean as hell. He'll kill you. I gotta tell you. Detective, he will? Terry, he sure as hell will. Detective, is it safe to talk here? Referring to the knitters. Terry, he walks over next to knitter 2 and holds the top of her head. You know what's inside here? If you had a power drill, you'd burn the damn thing out before you drilled even 1/2 inch into his head, into this head. This is a rock, man. Solid rock. Hell, yeah, it's safe to talk here. Terry comes back to the map and the detective. Terry, what's on your mind? Detective, how do we get into the inner city and find Hank Bartels and stop him? Terry, well, the inner city's locked up pretty tight like I told you, but more, and it's, well, more people is coming out of it. A lot of it. The electric trucks are coming out. The trucks pipe out the bad electricity. See? So's. And like the donut men, they're coming out. Detective, the donut men? Terry, yeah, and those men with those black coats, you know, the ones that zap you. So if they are coming out, there's got to be a way in. Bill knows one of the gates. He knows Hank, supposedly. It's bad, I tell you. One way through is a dangerous way, but it's going backwards. Detective, backwards? Terry, yeah, memory lane stuff. Scary, dangerous stuff. Detective, what do you mean? Memory lane. Terry, you know, starting with his parents and working our way back, and somewhere back there is that gate to the old inner city. Detective, oh yeah? Terry, Yeah. So you think you can handle this kind of job, boyo? Detective. I can stand on one leg. Terry. Ball. Detective. I can stand on one leg and give you the detective's motto. Terry. This I gotta see. The detective stands up and then raises one foot so he can hold it with one of his hands. Across the room, one of the knitters looks over. Knitter 1. My God, look at that! He's standing on one leg. Imagine! Detective. The detective's motto. Stay alert, concentrate, stay clean. Terry, amazed. People here can't hardly stand up anymore, let alone go for a period on one leg, believe me. We do stand on one leg for a moment when we walk, as one foot swings. Terry. Forward on the stride, the other remains on the ground, and for that moment we are technically speaking on one foot. However, we are in motion, not stationary. The balance is there, but are we sure? Because in the next moment the other foot will be on the ground to save us from falling. It's not the same thing with you. You can maintain balance for possibly even minutes, let alone seconds, and this is remarkable. It's unbelievable in this part of the city. Or really, in any part of the city. Of course I've seen people stand on one foot while holding onto something with their hands. Main city, night. Meanwhile, at the hospital, two men, Dr. Dan Pink and Dr. Bob Platinum, sneak down to the hospital basement and look into each room searching. When they find Ronald's room, they enter. They move toward Ronald and he starts a high scream. They muffle him with their gloved hands, unhook his electrical apparatus, scoop him up and steal him away from the hospital. They carry Ronald in an old sedan through dark streets to an old building. They go to a service elevator and travel to one of the top floors of the laboratory, which the two of them maintain. It is equipped with massive electrical appliances and gadgets. The walls are a yellow-green, and all is lit by blue glowing fluorescent lights, giving the place a scientific eeriness. They sit Ronald in a very special electrical chair, which is several tiers behind the back of the place Ronald sits. Each tier has new dials and cords and antennae and symbols. They take a blood test and spin the blood in a special jar. They check his tongue and eyes. They throw levers, turn dials, and mumble things to themselves as they work. They work very quickly. Suddenly, something begins to smoke on one of the levels of the chair, and Ronald begins to bounce up and down. There is a shuddering noise. The fluorescent lights waver. Then a small poof explosion and Ronald's head drops down. Quickly, the doctors analyze the situation and brings things under control. Ronald's head comes back up and he looks around, dazed. The doctors study his eyes again. After studying for a while, they turn to each other. Dan, Bob, we made it. This is a specimen. Bob, excited. Let's have a malted. Dan, a malted? Bob, surprised. Yes. Dan, what? Dan stands up. He leaps and punches his friend hard on the jaw, smacking him hard and knocking him to the floor. Dan, malteds before we even hardly get a look at this? After all we've been through? We're going to work. Bob, I mean to celebrate. Dan, hell no. Bob, I guess so, but why'd you hit me so hard? He pushes Dan back against the machine. Don't hit me so hard. Dan, all right, but let's get a look at this specimen. Bob, okay, let's get a look at this specimen. What a beauty. You know we can really do something with this. Get the chart out. They both go to the wall and Dan pulls down a wall chart entitled The Average Handsome Man. Arrows point to specific features such as a straight nose, clear eyes, ears not large, strong chin, good jaw, clear complexion, etc. Bob, it's going to be some work. Dan, we just have to take our time and think it through. No mistakes this time, Bob. Bob, what do you mean, Bob? What happened last time? What do you mean, Bob? That's the wrong name. Scalpels, boy. We'll do it okay. Just don't dwell in the past. The past is past. Dan. Look. We'll do it. We'll just take our time and get it perfect. You know I'm a perfectionist. Slams his fist into his hand. I can't stand these mistakes, and then you wanted them malted right away. What is it? You understand, right, Bob? We're surgeons. Bob, we're surgeons. I meant to celebrate. You really get to me. You want me to quit? I will. I've had it. No malteds. Okay, no malteds. But stop dwelling in the past. Are we in the past? No. Hell no. I'm not going to quit. We're in the present. Why go where you're not? It's gone. Dan. All right, Bob. You can't bring it back, Dan. Face it, you can't change what's... Dan. All right. Bob. Already happened. Dan. Shut up. Just be quiet. Look at this chart, okay? We're in the present. We're going to operate. Suddenly, Dan has realized he's urinated in his pants. He looks down at the wetness. Damn! He looks... Damn! He looks back up at Bob. Let's get some sort of idea where we stand with this specimen, Ronald the Art. Then we'll fix some moldings. All right, Bob. All right. Now we're starting off. It's going to be one of our finest projects. There is a knocking at the door. The doctors turn as the door opens. In comes Deborah, very small, very finely dressed and heavily made up woman. The doctors obviously know her and have been expecting her. Bob and Dan in unison. Hi, Deborah. Deborah, excited. Hello, boys. Let's see him. The doctors take her over to Ronald on the chair. Deborah. Oh, sweeties, an awful lot of work for you. Oh. Dan. Don't worry about what he looks like now. Deborah. He'll be all ours, won't he? Dan. Yes, he will. Bob. Yes, he will. Deborah. Please come up to dinner now. I've been waiting dinner in my apartment for you. Will you come now? Dan. Deborah, we're just barely started. Deborah. You have to eat, don't you? Dan. Yes, but... Bob. I can't work on an empty stomach, Dan. I'm going to start shaking. Dan, disgusted. Shaking. Let's eat then. I'm going to take off my light. Takes off forehead light. And I'm going to pull 3 light plugs. Pulse plugs. And I'm going to put on my coat. Deborah. Sweetie. She goes to Dan and takes him by the arm, then referring back to Bob. Come, Bobby. They exit after Bob struggles into his coat. His lining of his coat is torn, and his hand stuck in it. Upstairs, Deborah's apartment is extremely elegant. She has a big poodle dog and big vases of flowers. The poodle spends the entire time lying on its back under the dinner table, panting. Deborah has an older woman in a uniform serving the dinner. The dish this evening is a strange-looking vegetable with clusters of leaves on it. They begin eating by breaking the leaves off and floating them in a bowl of water which sits in front of them. With special spoons, they spoon in small round balls which dissolve and make the water thicker. They then cut off parts of the remaining vegetable and dip it into the thickened water bowl and eat it. It has a spicy, hot taste, and they all breathe funny after eating each mouthful. The conversation during dinner is dominated by Deborah, and the older uniform lady listens to all of it from behind the kitchen door. Deborah. A little tickle. You know where. I mean now. Oh, you can bounce too? Sweetie. And roll. And bounce. Oh, that's good. I have a tongue, you know. And right away I start using it. Don't I? Right away I start using it because this is the way I believe. I have. Fingers too. And right away I start using them because this is the way I believe. I take my time, And I have a breath. This breath. breathe so quietly and softly on my neck. The poodle continues panting under the table. This is done over and over, and now I breathe all around. This is why I'm breathing, because it makes a softness. The hair stands and the skin gets funny. You know, the whole thing is so pretty, like picture, like a furniture. Now, rub it. They both turn to her. Behind the kitchen door, the uniformed lady presses herself harder to the door to hear better. Deborah, the rubbing is something that I do because this is the way I believe. The rubbing for me is beautiful. I am an artist, rubbing and rubbing. I sometimes rub hard, I sometimes rub softly. Sometimes my little fingers rub, so softly, so tenderly. Bobby, you look tired. I think Dan will stay tonight. Bob, but he stayed last night. Deborah, you will stay tomorrow night. Sweet, I promise. Downstairs, Ronald sits in his chair in the laboratory. He looks lonely in this strange green room, many electrical sounds humming, moving closer to Ronald the Art at night in the laboratory. His eyes confused, staring. Back in the deep city, Terry is still talking. The detective is still standing on one leg. The knitters are knitting. Terry, there have been stories of people standing on their hands, but both of their hands? Never only one. There's a man around the corner who supports himself on one hand and one leg. Maybe you'll see him when we go get something to eat, because it's usually out front of the diner. I knew a man once who could get out of bed without using his hands, but then he'd usually fall over and get sick, you know. Nowadays, with hand reversing electricity, most people like to sit down or lie down. A lot of people have diseases now, physical disorders. Even if they're feeling good sometimes after the trucks come around, they act funny from them. In other words, they get permanently changed, you know. But you being able to stand on one foot is damn near unbelievable. Damn good. Main city. Bob and Dan's laboratory. Day. It is foggy outside the lab windows. Distant factory sounds are heard. The doctors have opened Ronald up and are putting electrical components inside of him. After closing him, they leave a tube through the skin onto which they hook an electrical device that Ronald will always have to wear on his chest. Out of the device comes another tube, and at the end of it there is a rubber bag and a small needle which is again inserted back into Ronald's skin and taped over with adhesive tape. They use electricity in several foreign manners to carve Ronald's face and graft on new features. Unfortunately, these doctors aren't the artists they think they are. Their hearts are in the right place, and they have tremendous energy, but the results are far and away from handsome. The doctors are very serious while they work. They concentrate very hard, and their faces contort in funny ways. It's now break time, and Bob is bringing the malteds over to where Dan is by Ronald. As they drink their malteds, they discuss their work. Bob, what are you thinking? Dan, I'm thinking that the ears will have to be really done well this time, Bob. Bob, sensing. I agree with that. Dan, carefully. They're complicated, and always before we seem to hurry through the ears. Bob, you want to divide up the work as usual? I'll take the ears and you do the nose or something? Dan, going around the bush. Maybe. He reaches over slowly and turns the dial, and Ronald moves some and opens his mouth. Inside the mouth, the tongue starts flapping. He turns the dial down some. The mouth is going to be a problem. Bob. Well, do you want to talk it through? Should we start on it? Dan, there's something else that we haven't thought about, Bob, and that is the hair. Bob, I was going to say, yes, I know, hair. That is something we need to think about. Dan, hair. He downs the rest of his malted and stands up, pauses, moves close to Ronald. I'd like to do the ears, Bob. Bob. You've been leading up to this. I knew it. I knew they weren't quite right last time. You want the ears? Well, I want the ears too. He stands up. I grafted them high last time. But this isn't the point. I'm the ears specialist. You've got no right taking the ears. You've only done one ear. I want the ears. He's trembling. You've been trying to think of a way to get the ears. I know you. You've been lying awake nights thinking of how you could manipulate me into giving you the ears. And on this project? I've seen you planning. I knew you were trying to get them from me. I knew it. Bob strikes cut and smashes Dan in the face. A short fistfight follows, and then Dan. All right, you keep the damn ears. Bob, bleeding and panting. No, you take the ears. It's not worth it. I'll work on something else. Maybe the hair or something. Dan, panting. No, I'm sorry, Bob. We'll both work on everything. That way, it'll be perfect. You take an ear, and I'll take an ear. We just have to keep good measurements. We've got to keep good measurements. He buckles over and slams his fist into his hand for emphasis. The laboratory is now lit for precision work, and the chart of the handsome man has been moved in closer to the doctor's work area. They are each working on Ronald's head. The process involves a light foam over the skin and electrical instruments hooked here and there. Small electrical tools are used by the doctors to reform Ronald's skin. Foam hides most of the work. Dan is now putting the nose into place. Bob is assisting. Dan lifts the nose off the table where he had been fashioning it. The area for the nose has now been cleared. Dan is just starting to place the nose. Bob. That looks good. Dan. If I can place it now, let's have the opening. Bob. All right. He pulls some skin apart. Dan, placing the nose. This is the best nose we've ever done. Bob. It is. Dan. Hand me the cotter and then let's stitch this. Bob. Hold it. Let me plug it in. As he plugs the cotter in, Ronald begins to make a strange noise. Bob adjusts the dial and the noise stops. He hands Dan the cotter. Dan. Good. He begins a delicate burn all around the seam of the note and head, and begins a stitching process. The ears will be next. Later, Deborah is standing looking at Ronald and his new nose. The rest of Ronald's head is covered with foam, except for the mouth, which looks like it always has. Deborah. This nose reminds me of a small pillow. It's so soft looking. I like it very much. You're rebuilding this boy. He is so fortunate to have you too. Dan and Bob smile. Deborah walks slowly, crossing the room, then turns. Deborah. Bobby, come now. Upstairs with me. Dan. Go ahead, Bob. It's late. We're free for the night. Bob, smelling a rat. Don't do anything till I get back. Dan. I won't. Bob. Don't even clean up anything. Promise. Dan. I won't. Bob. Do you promise? Dan, screaming. I promise! Bob. Just go to bed. Dan. I promise, I promise, I promise. Stamps his feet. Deborah. Come, Bobby. Dan will behave himself. Deborah and Bob are crossing her living room. It is fairly dark. Deborah. Remember the yellow light bulb? She laughs. Bob is embarrassed. I've got a new one for you, Bobby. And some new wire. Happy? Happy? Bob smiles sheepish. Downstairs in the laboratory, Dan is over near Ronald and he is pacing around and around. Suddenly he can't help himself. He decides to break his promise and plunges into work on Ronald. He begins to prepare the side of Ronald's head for an ear. Upstairs, Deborah and Bob are in bed. It is quite dark. Bob is on his hands and knees under the blanket and straddling Deborah, who is smiling and laughing as she reaches back to plug in a wire. Bob screams out as the yellow light glows out from under the blanket, illuminating Deborah's chin and sending a faint yellow glow around the wall. The light begins to blink on and off, and Bob begins to laugh and scream. laugh and scream in unison with the yellow light. In the laboratory the next morning, Dan is still at work. Dense fog is seen out the window. Dan already has one ear on and is working on another. Upstairs, Bob and Deborah are crossing the living room. Deborah's poodle is whining softly. Deborah. Bob. Yes? Deborah. Better than ever before? Bob. Yes. Deborah. Can I come up again tonight? Dan had 2 nights in a row. Deborah. We'll see. Bob. All right. Would you clean my hands again? Deborah. Here. Let me wipe your hand and face, sweet. She begins to wipe Bob's face with the damp cloth she has been carrying. She wipes his face over and over again, and then she cleans his hands carefully. Bob. I guess I'd better go wake Dan. Deborah. All right, my sweet Cabini. What's a Cabini? All right, my sweet Cabini. Fly away. Remember to try and sit up straight. You're getting round-shouldered. She curves her hands over her shoulders. Take these sweets for you and Dan. She goes to the table and gets some fancy large candies and gives them to Bob. He has to hold them with both hands. Bob. I'll have to clean my hands again now. Deborah. Goodbye for now, sweet. Bob. Goodbye. Maybe I should have cleaned my hands better. These candies. Deborah. They're fine, Bobby. Your hands are clean. Now go wake up Dan. Goodbye. Bob. Calling back as he goes downstairs. Goodbye. I'll clean them again anyway, soon for work. We're putting on the ears today. It's hard for Bob to open the door to the laboratory while his hands are full of candies, but he finally manages. Meanwhile, Dan hears Bob coming in. However, he's in a ticklish spot and has to hold several things in place, including a cord in his mouth. He can't hide the fact that he's been working on Ronald without Bob. Bob enters and sees Dan. At first he smiles, then he sees the ears. Dan. Now you wait a damn minute. I can't figure out how... Now you wait a damn minute. I can't figure out how these ears got on here. In a rage, Bob flies across the room. He wants the candies in his fists, and he hits Dan over and over again. Dan. I can't figure it out. Later, the two of them are working very silently. Both are beaten looking. Dan has musk candies stuck in his hair as he rubs his eyes. Dan. What was that? My eyes are still burning. Bob. Your eyes deserve to be burned. Suddenly Bob moves a lot of the foam away with an air instrument and, forgetting his anger, yells out, Bob. Dan, look, he's looking good. They push more foam away to get a look. They're both excited. All the features on Ronald are well formed, but they do not work well together. One ear is quite a bit larger than the other, and there is no hair at all. Several areas are not yet healed either. Dan. We've got the touch, Bob. We've got the touch. Let's come up with 15,000 on the device. Maybe we can speed that healing up. Bob. That's a good idea. Turn some dials. Dan. All the fluid there is just left over, you know. Bob. I know. Bob crouches down and surveys the ears on Ronald. Bob. The ears may be slightly off. He looks at Dan. Dan dives him a look back. Bob removes more foam, revealing the new Ronnie. Bob. I mean, what can you say? Look at the quality, the workmanship. They slap each other on the back. Dan. I'm a little worried about the hair. Bob. He's got to have hair. Dan. Well, we've got to do it then. What colour do you think? Bob. We've got a bunch of brown ones left. Dan. All right, by God, let's use them. Later, the top of Ronald's scalp. Dan and Bob have put in several hairs. The hairs are long and wiry, and they have many more to place before Ronald will even begin to look like he has hair. He looks quite strange now, with these few wiry hairs sticking out. Bob. You keep going. I'm going to get us a malted. This hair is getting to me. Dan. Alright, me too. Bob goes over and scrubs his hands and gets going on a couple of malted milks. Dan remains sticking in more hairs, one at a time. Bob brings the malted milks over and Dan stops working and takes a drink. Bob: my hands came clean. Dan: they look clean. I'm going to suggest something, and you can stop me if you want to, but I'm going to suggest it anyway. A wig. Bob: a wig? Dan: a wig? Bob: a wig. That's a good idea. We'll stop sticking hairs in there. Dan: we won't stick another. Bob: should we get a brown wig? Dan: I've been thinking red. Bob: Dan, you won't believe it, but I've been thinking red too. Later that night, Deborah, Bob, and Dan are all staring at Ronald. He has on his new red wig of high, wavy, pompadour-style hair. Later that night, Deborah, Bob, and Dan are all staring at Ronald. He has on his new red wig of high, wavy, pompadour-style hair. Dan: it's perfect. Bob: it's perfect. Deborah: it is perfect, sweets. Is he finished? Dan: almost, but we have to start him. You set, Bob? Bob: all set. Dan: pull free light. Deborah: oh? Bob and Dan each have several controls. They begin turning dials and pulling levers. The chair begins to vibrate some and Ronald begins to come to, but very slowly. From time to time he opens his mouth and emits strange sounds, and also from time to time he blacks out altogether. Even when he's out, he twitches and bounces. When he begins to fade, Bob and Dan pour on the juice, and the lights dim way down, and there is an eerie glow. Deborah looks beautiful in the glow as she watches the spectacle. Slowly Ronald begins to come to again. He looks very awake, and his eyes roll about. He begins to move, and he begins to scream. He starts to stand as he screams and vibrates violently when all the lights blow out. Pow! All at once. Ronald falls back in his chair and is still. However, he looks awake now. The moonlight is illuminating the room slightly. Dan: scalpels. Bob, looking out the window: I think we blew out the whole building. Ronald moans, and his eyes start rolling. Dan: I hope he's all right. Deborah: how will you fix the electricity? Dan: they'll be on it soon, but last time it took hours. I'm afraid this is it for a while. Ronald stops moaning and looks peaceful. Deborah: he looks peaceful now, in the darkness. Is he all right, honeys? Dan: I think he's all right. We brought him around. A close-up of Ronald reveals open eyes and a dazed, peaceful look. Bob, Dan, and Deborah move to a window and look out on the city. Deborah turns to Bob and then to Dan. She gives Dan a slow, tender kiss on the lips, then she gives Bob the same. The three of them stand close together, looking out the window. Ronald sits looking around the room, still tied to many wires and sitting low in the chair. Some clouds go by slowly, and Bob and Dan and Deborah are hugging now, watch the city and the sky. Suddenly the power comes back on. Ronald screams bloody murder and is shot out of his chair 20 feet through the air. The wires stuck to him, keep him from going any further. The lights in the room blink on and off, and the equipment goes crazy with sounds and sparks. Dan and Bob rush to turn things off. Bob: what happened? Dan: you forgot to turn the damn machines off, that's what happened. Bob: I forgot? Dan: well, what does it look like? Deborah: sweet, stop. Bob: I forgot, what about you? Bob shoves Dan and he trips over Ronald's wires. Bob hits Dan hard in the nose. The fight goes on all around Ronald, who is also on the floor. In and amongst the wires, Dan and Bob beat each other while Deborah is screaming for them to stop. Ronald sits up. The lights flutter several times, dim, and then go out. This stops the fight, and all is dark and quiet except for heavy breathing. Dan: there must have been 10,000 volts through him. Bob: I think we may have some trouble there. Deborah: you're bad. You're bad. Dad! Dad! Dad, did you see him fly across the room? Like a rocket! Sounds come up slowly. Bob. Ronnie the rocket! Deborah. Ronnie rocket! Up close on Ronald, in the moonlight laboratory, he says, Ronnie. Ronnie rocket! You have a free turn to him in amazement. Dissolve too. Interior. Bob and Dan's laboratory. Day. Ronnie is now fitted with a small black suit with a nice white shirt. Bob and Dan now have the shirt open, and they are in the last stages of fitting Ronnie with his electrical chest appliance. This is a life-sustaining device which Ronnie will have to wear continually. It fits to his chest with little shoulder straps and one strap which goes around his torso. A series of electrical wires come off this device and go surgically into Ronnie's body. One fat cord comes out of the appliance and it ends in a plug. Dan, don't tighten that strap too tight, Bob. Bob, I'm not. Dan, see Ronnie? See the plug? You have to learn to plug yourself in every 15 minutes when you hear the little warning signal. Otherwise you will, not wanting to upset Ronnie. Otherwise you will feel funny. Ronnie, funny? Bob. Ronnie, funny? Dan. Yes, to Bob. He said funny. Bob. Can you say Bob? Ronnie. Can you say Bob? Bob. Yes. Dan. You're all dressed now, Ronnie. You're a little human being. Can you say human being? Ronnie. Can of bean? Bob. It sounded like he said can of beans. Ronnie. Head can of bean? Dan. Yes, human being. My God, Bob. He can talk. Interior. Bob and Dan's laboratory. Bob has painted yellow footsteps on the floor at one end of the lab. This is planned as a learning device in order to teach Ronnie to walk. Bob. Ronnie, we're going to learn to walk. Ronnie. Wah! Bob. That's right. Now come here. That's it. Now put your foot. No, your right foot. Right there on the painted footstep. That's it. No, on the painted footstep. There. Yes. Now, carry the other foot through the air, like this. Watch me. Like this. And put it on the next painted footstep. See? Watch me walk. Then you do it. Okay? Watch me first. Ronnie watching Bob as he picks one foot up very high and carries it to the next painted footstep. Ronnie watches this strange walking, then he mimics it perfectly. The only problem is Ronnie doesn't ever smooth out his walk. He learns the high step, and the high step is what he does from then on. Bob. No, Ronnie, you don't have to lift your feet so high. I was just doing that in order to very carefully show you the various phases of walking. Now you can stop this high step, which I showed you, and walk normally. Walk normally. Ronnie. Molly? Bob. Yes. Now let's walk normally. They begin walking again, but Ronnie maintains this very meticulous long stride. Dan enters the lab carrying a box of electrical apparatus. Even though he sees this strange sight of Bob and Ronnie, he smiles proudly. Their son is walking. Interior. Deborah's apartment. Day. Dan. Look, Ronnie, this is Deborah's apartment. Deborah. I'm so happy you are finally able to see it. Bob. I am too. Dan. Can you say apartment? Ronnie. Can you say Palmer? Deborah. Come, Ronnie, let me show you around. Deborah takes Ronnie's hand and begins to lead him, but her poodle dog stands up and begins to growl. Ronnie makes a small noise and leaps back. He shakes with fear. Deborah. I think he's afraid of the dog. I will have it removed. I will have it removed, Ronnie. Slowly, so that Ronnie can see everything. The three of them take him through the living room and dining room. His little eyes darting here and there. In the kitchen, Ronnie high steps around, looking at all the different shapes and textures. He spots the toaster. He goes to it. and looks at his reflection in the shiny metal. Bob, it's a toaster. Look. He puts a piece of bread into the toaster and pushes the toaster on. As the toaster heats up, a strange electrical disturbance starts in Ronnie's chest, and soon he is emitting through his mouth a high-pitched electrical scream. The toast blows out of the toaster, scorched black and burning. Deborah screams. Smoke begins filling the room. Bob and Dan rush Ronnie into the living room. His little eyes are rolled back. Bob and Dan begin looking at various components of the chest appliances. Dan, it's the RZ factor again. Bob, I think you really got too much the other night. Dan, yeah, what can we do? Maybe we should run him through again. Bob, hell, will work. Dan, yeah, but the shielding's all gone to hell, Bob. That jolt the other night. Deborah, word. Will he be all right? Dan, sure he will. We just have to keep an eye on him. Dan looks around. Turn something else on. Turn the radio on. Deborah goes over to the big floor model radio and starts it on. She turns the dial, trying to find a station. She passes a station where a woman is singing a song. Ronnie almost leaps to the radio. Deborah, do you like that song? Do you like that song? She tunes in the music. A beautiful melody is being sung by a woman with a high, clear voice. Dan stands Ronnie by the radio. There is a slight static sound. He adjusts the dial on the chest appliance. The static disappears, and he stands back away from Ronnie. Ronnie suddenly opens his mouth and begins to mimic the woman's voice on the radio. He actually sings some very beautiful notes. Deborah looks amazed, and she happily turns to Bob and Dan, who also begin to smile. Bob, what a voice! Deborah, a singer! Suddenly, though, the electricity goes funny again. Ronnie's voice causes tremendous static to build. The electrical complication causes a wild distortion in the woman's voice, and before Bob or Dan can get to Ronnie, the radio speaker is blown out with an explosion. The radio, having been destroyed, sits smoking silently. Ronnie begins to cry. Deborah is horrified and rushes to his side, joining Bob and Dan. Deborah, it's all right, Ronnie. What can you do, boys? Dan, word. We'll shield him good, so unless he's near lots of power, he'll be okay. Bob, yes, this is it. This is what we will do. Deborah, good. I noticed he's developing several sores on his little face, honeys. What is this? Dan, it looks like acne. Deborah, yes, it does. Bob, going to look for himself. It sure does. Deborah, what do you suppose is the cause of this? Bob, it could be the electricity, but... Thinks, how old is Ronnie, do you think? Bob, I don't know. 20 maybe? Dan, 20? I'll bet he's 16. Look at the acne. He's high school age. Bob, possibly 16. Yes, I was overshooting it a little with 20. Yes, probably 16. Deborah, I think you're right. Oh, how wonderful. High school age. High school was such a dream. Bob, yes, but he's not in high school. Deborah, no, that's right. That's horrible. Dan, we'll get him in high school then. Bob, oh, I don't know. He's going to have to learn an awful lot before we could ever get him in high school. Deborah, oh, do you think we can? Dan, ask Ronnie if he wants to go to high school. Deborah does, and Ronnie mumbles and sounds happily. She turns back to Dan and Bob. Dan, we'll have to get him enrolled though. That will mean questions. We have to have a plan. Bob, we have to think. Dissolve. Interior, B&D Laboratory Day. Dan stands at the portable blackboard with a pointer stick, and Bob stands back with Ronnie. All the letters of the alphabet have been drawn with chalk on the blackboard. Dan says a letter out loud as he points to it with his pointer stick. Dan, A, he points. Bob says the letter with Dan, then Ronnie says it as he makes a smaller pointing gesture with his hand, as if he had an imaginary pointing sticks. B, C, D, E, dissolve to. Dan, Bob and Ronnie huddle together. Ronnie is speaking. Ronnie, T, F, Dan, Right, now flip the penny like I showed you. Ronnie flips the penny in the air with his little thumb and it bounces down on the floor. Heads up. Ronnie bends down real low and looks at it. Bob and Dan crouch down and look at it too, and then look at Ronnie. They wait. Ronnie. Head. T. Bob and Dan smile proudly. Dan. Good, Ronnie. Bob. Very good, very good. Head is T. Tails is F. Very good. Interior, Bob and Dan's laboratory, morning. Dense fog is outside the windows. Deborah is there with Dan and Bob and Ronnie, and everyone is dressed up. Ronnie is saying the alphabet over and over again. Deborah, oh, I'm getting nervous. Dan, everything will be fine. They'll just probably ask a few questions, then enroll Ronnie, and we'll go home. When they ask for his school records, just hand them this. I got this made up to show them, just average grades, etc. Dan shows this to Deborah. Bob, I've changed my mind. You go ahead. I'll stay here. Suddenly screaming. I helped make that up, referring to Barack's high school transcripts. Dan, okay. And you're going. You're his uncle. You can go. I'm sure many times several members of the family go to the office to register a boy for high school. I'm sure sometimes the grandparents go. It's an important decision, and it's a memorable experience. An experience to have in the memory for a lifetime. It should be shared by all members of the family. They may even wonder why more relatives aren't with us. Dan, my God. So you have to go. That's all there is to it. Understand? No one will find out about us. Ronnie. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Interior. High school. Hall and offices. Hall and offices. They enter the front hall of a large high school and proceed to the school offices. They are as nervous as they can be. When they enter, they are confronted by a very old, stern receptionist who speaks right up. Receptionist. Can I help you? What is it that you need? All react to her stern manner. Dan, nervous. Yes, we're Mr. and Mrs. Pink. We have an appointment with Mr. Murdo, the principal. Receptionist. Who's the father? Dan. I am. Receptionist. Who's he then? Dan. He's Ronnie's uncle. Receptionist. I see. She looks at her watch. I'll get him. You're 8 minutes late. I'm sure we haven't got 3 chairs in Mr. McDow's office. She exits and returns with Mr. Murdo. M.R. Murdo. Mr. Murdo. Looking at the group carefully. Come into my office. Receptionist. By the way, I obtained a 3rd chair for the uncle. When they walk through the outer office, everyone stares at Ronnie, including the principal. Once inside his office, they face Mr. Murdo behind his desk. The door has been closed very hard by the receptionist. Mr. Murdo. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Pink. Dan. Hello, Mr. Murdo. This is Ronnie and his uncle, Bob Platinum. Mr. Murdo. Hello, Ronnie. Hello, Mr. Platinum. Would you all be seated? Yes? Good? Now? You want to enroll Ronnie in our school? Dan. Yes, we would. Mr. Murdo. Hello, Ronnie. Hello, Mr. Platinum. Would you all be seated? Yes? Good? Now, you want to enroll Ronnie in our school? Dan. Yes, we would. Ronnie. Q-R-S-T-U-V-W-X. Mr. Murdo. Ah, yes. Well, Ronnie. B-C-E-E-F. Mr. Murdo. Word. Where did Ronnie attend school last year? Dan. Voice shaking. High School of Factories and Service. We have his records. Mr. Murdo. Good. May I see them? Deborah. Here they are. Ronnie. P-Q-R-S-T-U-V. Mr. Murdo. I see you have a complete list. Also the office transcripts. Usually we request this information ourselves. This is unusual. Dan. We wanted everything to be orderly, prepared, for our Ronnie, so you could begin, continue, in higher education. Mr. Murdo. We will have to give him an entrance exam of our own, I'm afraid. He studies Ronnie. It is our policy on all transfers. It allows us to better place a student in a class where he will fit in. What is this chest appliance I see on Ronnie? Dan answers for Ronnie. He's recovering from an illness. He has to wear this. It must be plugged in every 15 minutes. Mr. Murdo. I'm sorry, every 15 minutes? 2? He's not a talker, huh? Ronnie. FGHIJKL. Bob. As his uncle, I can truthfully say that he does talk. I've heard it. Mr. Murdo. Yes, I meant he's probably somewhat shy. Bob. This is what I meant. Deborah. We hope this will be a good school for our Ronnie. He needs your cooperation. He needs the care. He needs the attention. This is the way we believe. Mr. McMurdo. I see. Dan. When will the entrance exam be given? Mr. Murdo. Right now, if you like. Ronnie? Ronnie. PQRSTU. Bob. To Ronnie. Your test, Ronnie? Dan crouches down to Ronnie. Dan. Ronnie, listen to me. Ronnie. The principal watches wide-eyed. You're going to take your test now. All right, Ronnie? Your test. Your test is now. Deborah. Ronnie. The test. Test. Ronnie. B, C, D, E. Test. Dan. Yes. Now. To principal. He's ready now. The principal is staring at Ronnie and the group. Interior testing room and surrounding halls. Day. This testing room is surrounded by wire-reinforced glass, so the student can be observed on all 4 sides. There is a large clock above the glass on one wall. Ronnie is seated in her desk, and the stern receptionist is speaking to her. An extension cord and electrical box have been provided for Ronnie's electrical needs. Bob, Dan, and Deborah have been allowed to watch, but they are outside the room, looking in through the glass. They can just barely hear the receptionist. Receptionist to Ronnie. This is not a party. This is not a rowdy night on the town. This is a test. This is a 3-part test. Multiple choice, true or false, and essay. I'll be watching you, young man, so no funny business. You have 1/2 hour. I might add that this test has been devised by Dr. Herbert Smythe of Freeport University. Ronnie. Funny business. The stern receptionist turns and leaves the room, but she remains for a while at the glass until she sees Ronnie start filling in squares on the multiple choice part of the test. Dan, quietly to Deborah and Bob. I told him just to colour in the blocks where he wanted to. We'll leave it up to fate. Bob. I told him too, Deborah. Suddenly Ronnie starts flipping pennies and going crouching down, looking, then going back and marking his paper. Deborah looks at Bob and Dan. Dan to Deborah. He's on the true or false section now. Just then the receptionist appears again. She is shocked by what she sees Ronnie doing. She enters the testing room in a rage. Receptionist. All right, young man, what is the meaning of this? Don't think you'll pull one over on me or Dr. Smythe. You cannot fool Dr. Smythe. The bell rings, Ronnie's head flies back and the receptionist grabs the test from him and marches off. Bob and Dan and Deborah look worried. Later in the principal's office, they all wait as the receptionist brings in the results of the entrance exam. She hands them to Mr. Murdo. She looks very angrily at them all and then leaves. Murdo looks at the exam and then at Ronnie. Mr. Murdo. Ronnie Rocket. Ronnie. Ronnie Rocket. Mr. Murdo. You like mathematics? Ronnie says nothing. Mr. Murdo continued. Are you interested in mathematics? Getting no response from Ronnie, he speaks to the rest. He shows a definite gift in higher mathematics. Quite a gift. The rest of the exam is mediocre, but as far as I'm concerned, he is eligible for our school. Bob, Dan, and Deborah share an incredulous look. Mr. Murdo. He's a puzzling boy. Does he have brothers and sisters? Dan. No, he's an only child. Mr. Murdo. I see, an only child, her Ronnie. Ronnie says nothing. Mr. Murdo, looking at Ronnie. He's got the blemishes they all seem to get at his age. Chuckles over this and tries to get them to chuckle along. I had the blemishes bad when I was a youngster. Coal cities is where I grew up. The black coal dust clouds would blow all day and all into the night. It got the coal dust in my teeth and hair and all the pores of my skin. All the kids had it bad. It's when I saw Ronnie here. I hadn't seen it quite like his since I was back in the coal cities. The factories here will do it too. The coal, the smoke, the black smoke. makes red sores. That always seemed funny to me. That black smoke would make red sores. All the kids sure had 'em. Reminds me, just looking at Ronnie, he picks up the exam. So this Ronnie Rocket is a mathematician, is he? All nod up and down. Ronnie Rocket? Ronnie Rocket. Mr. Murdo. Yes, well, you can start school on Monday, Ronnie. At this, Ronnie's warning signal starts up on his chest plates, and he gets a queer expression on his face. He bends over slowly and walks to an outlet and plugs himself in. The principal watches this. Ronnie's face is forlorn, a faraway look in his eyes. Deborah, Dan and Bob all look at Ronnie, and then at each other, and then Mr. Murdo, then back to Ronnie, who has found several dead flies by the window. He is gathering them together in his hand. Terry and the detective go along a filthy city street, walking. People going by wear a glazed, dazed, totally spaced out look. Terry, things have gotten bad here. I can tell you, these people are in bad shape. In a pastry shop across the street, two shop owners stand behind the counter. The man stands in the middle of the square store and looks at the pastries. Man, well, I guess I'll get some of them. The clerk is about to get the pastry for the man. Man, no, I changed my mind. I'll take some of them. The clerk moves to the new pastry. Man, no, I'll get some of them. The clerk moves again. The man looks up at the ceiling. Man, how much you want for the light up there? Exterior, street deep in city. Dark, cloudy day. Terry and the detective continue walking toward the diner. The detective stops to look at a man balancing one hand and one foot. Terry, hey, let's go in the diner, get something to eat. Hey? Sees the detective looking at the man balancing. That's the guy I was telling you about. Goes to the man balancing. He, referring to the detective, can stand on one foot. At this, the man incapable of receiving such shattering information cries out in agony. Terry, to detective, come on. They enter the diner and sit at the counter. The place is fairly full, mostly vacant-eyed, low-class people eating dull-looking food. The counter has now become crowded as more people come into the diner. It is steamy and hot inside. The grill is sizzling. The coffee machine is steaming. The man next to the detective, on his left, is having a large bowl of soup. Terry, to waitress, give me some bacon and eggs, will you? And a cup of coffee. Turning now to the detective, smiles slyly. Do you know the symbolic meaning of an egg, detective? Terry? He frowns at Terry, but the waitress is waiting. Cheese sandwich and a cup of coffee. Coffees are brought immediately. As he drinks his coffee, the detective watches the people eating. He watches the food being prepared. Everything here, at least, seems to be fairly normal. Terry's bacon and eggs arrive and he begins eating hungrily. The knitters have followed the detective and Terry to the diner. They and some of their friends stand around outside talking about the detective. If only I was younger, laugh, laugh, and he can stand on one foot. Inside the diner, the detective watches the man to his left slurping his hot soup. Now the detective's sandwich is being prepared. He sees the cheese being placed on the white bread and mayonnaise being spread on the top piece of bread. The sandwich is put together and sliced in half with a big kitchen knife. On a plate it goes and the waitress sets it down in front of the detective. He picks up one half and takes a bite. He chews. Terry, how's the sandwich? Detective, pretty good. Terry, yeah. You like that cheese, huh? Detective, yeah. Terry, cheese is made from milk. Outside on the street, suddenly people are running and acting crazy, slobbering, unable to stand, spinning, falling, walking into posts or walls. Dogs whimper and press themselves to the pavement. The knitters begin to walk backwards. A massive black truck with enormous antennae is rounding the corner. The antennae issues forth tremendous electrical sparks, and there is a loud humming buzzing in the air. People are getting confused. Inside the diner, Terry, oh, hold on, buddy. Here comes the truck that's turning you back. The electricity goes very loud. Suddenly the diner goes crazy. The man to the left of the detective immediately puts his elbows in his soup. The detective is suddenly off his stool, with his chin pressed into the center of his cheese sandwich on the counter. Terry's hand wants to go down Terry's throat, and Terry's teeth want to bite his hand. The waitress must be standing on her head, because only her legs and feet rise up above the counter. Each person in the diner is having his own personal seizure, from bloody noses to head pounding to tongue swallowing. The detective's eyes are rolling, and his chin is flattening his cheese sandwich to the thickness of a fine paper. The door to the diner flies open, and in comes a large, fat man with a wild, smiling face. His eyes bug out with each smile. In his arms he holds a box of powdered sugar donuts. In his hand is a nice donut, which he eats all at once. As he chews, he happens to face with pandemonium. Behind him, a large gang of black-coated men pour crazily into the diner. They begin zapping people with electricity. The donut man goes over to the detective and leans down, looking him in the eyes. The detective tries to focus on the donut man. The donut man holds up a donut in front of the detective's face. Donut man: life is a donut. The donut man laughs uproariously. Outside in the streets there are fires burning and electrical sparks in the air. Men, women and children and animals are running wild. Some are on fire. Inside the diner, a black-coated man wades through a pile of bodies and stands in front of the man eating the soup. The black coat zaps the soup man, and the soup man's arm flies back, hitting the detective in the eye. Detective: ow! The black coat moves quickly to zap some more people. The detective's eye is watering and puffing up, and he sees a strange sight across the diner. Someone yells at the donut man, but the donut man's shoes are untied. The donut man does not have a normal reaction to this. He screams bloody murder and runs wildly out of the diner. Just then a black coat turns and zaps the detective right in the head with an electrical cattle prod gun. The detective flips off his chair and lands next to Terry on the floor. The black coats leave as quickly as arrived. Terry: did you see how dark it got? Do you understand? Light and dark? Light and dark. Detective: Terry struggles to sit up. I almost bought it. I almost lost consciousness. Terry: yeah, a lot of them did here. Look. They look around and see many dead people around the diner. Detective: when that guy's arm hit me, it hurt so much. It made me able to concentrate. When I got zapped, I would have checked out. Terry: hey, wait a minute. Same with me. Only it was my saw that was killing me. You're a pretty smart fella. This saw hurt like hell all the time. Do you think it's helping me? By God. Detective: yeah, Terry. We gotta make some rigs to keep us in pain. You know, not always, but when we need it. Understand? Terry: yeah, that's a hell of an idea. Interior, hotel room. Day. Terry has found several things and is showing them to the detective. Terry: look at these pin cushions I got from the knitters upstairs. Stick the pins all the way through. Yeah? Now stick it under your collar, on the side or back of your neck. Terry places the wad of pins inside the detective's collar against his neck. Detective: ow! That hurts. Man, is that painful. Tears from his eyes from the pain. Terry: I'll get us some knitting needles too. Exterior, street, deep city, dusk. Terry and the detective are cautiously walking down the sidewalk. Terry: now we're getting back in there. Don't look now, but that's Ronald's parents' house. Detective? Detective: it is? Terry: yeah, we gotta start here. A lot of things begin to go wrong at home with the parents, if you understand what I'm talking about. Detective: yeah, but this is all memories? Terry: you'd play hell to tell the difference. Oh. Bill, the other man on the train with Terry, is seen walking toward them on the other side of the street. Terry pulls the detective with him behind a tree. Terry: it's Bill. Go ahead into Ronald's parents' house. Get going. Bill would kill me if he saw me go in there. Go quickly before he sees. I'll find you. Don't worry. Hurry. Don't leave the house. The detective hurries up the walkway to Ronald's parents' house and rings the bell. He looks around. Bill has seen him. Bill stands across the street grinning, an evil grin at the detective. The door is answered. Detective: hello. I've come to speak to you about... Are you the parents of Ronald at Art? Yes? I've come to speak to you about Ronald. Are you available for speaking? The father is whittling a piece of wood. Mother: come in. We've changed our house. Did you know it before? Detective: no? Mother: it now is the way it is. Sit down. Detective: you haven't been in touch with Ronald for a long time. Father: we've been here all along. Detective: yes, but there's been no correspondence. Mother. No, he couldn't seem to stay out of trouble. It became difficult for us, his parents and family, who loved him so much. Detective. I think he's in a great deal of trouble now. Mother. He always was. A great deal of trouble. She has difficulty breathing. Detective. You have fond memories of his, I'm sure. Father. How does he remember me? Like this? He makes a strange smiling face. Mother. And me like this? She makes the same strange smiling face. They laugh with each other. Father. I'm sure he's in trouble. We haven't heard from him in ages. Mother. I'm sorry, did we offer you some coffee? Suddenly the detective sees some electrical sparks shoot out of the socket. It is instantly later, and coffee is being poured. Mother. Some sweets? Detective. Thank you. He takes some chocolate. Father. So, you are a detective? Detective. Yes, I am. Suddenly the father is frozen with paralyzed nerves and fallen headfirst into the rug. He remains with his bottom up in the air, still resting on the chair, while his forehead carries the weight of his body pressed against the rug, paralyzed. Mother, nervous. Oh, he's gone off again. Give me a hand, would you? Detective. Surely. Mother. Daddy. Daddy, it's all right. It's all right. Father. Yes. My God. Gone off again. Mother. Yes, you did, Daddy. It's excitement. Take a drink of your coffee. Let me pat your forehead. Is that better? Let me rub your neck. There and there. Is that better? Do you like that? Father. Extremely irritated with Mother. Okay, that's enough. Mother. Very defensive suddenly. Oh, I'm sorry. Father. Trying to stop the inevitable fight. No, thank you. It's better now. Mother. Still at him. Oh, so I did something good, huh? Did I? Father. Yes, sure you did. Mother. Yes. I saw how much you enjoyed it. Now in comes the daughter, Celia. Celia. Who's this? Mother. This is a detective. I suppose looking into Ronald's life. What led him to ruin? Such a sweet lad. Celia. To detective. You can just come into homes and lives and all like that? Detective. Yes, I guess so. Father. To detective. I've lost my job. Mother, amazed. He hasn't been able to discuss it with anyone, have you? Father, very angry. No, I haven't. I'm speaking to him. Mother, I just meant it's nice that you can talk about it now, isn't it? Father, to detective. Everything's gone to hell. Celia, to detective. You like music? Detective. Some music. Celia, you want to listen to records? I have a record player in my room. Father, what's wrong with a Victrola right here, young lady? Mother, oh, let her show him her room. It's nice to have someone drop by, isn't it, sweet? Father. What the hell's wrong with this Victrola right here? Celia. Come up. They don't like my records anyway. She takes the detective to the stairs and starts up. The father follows and grabs the detective by the wrist. Father, under his breath. To her room, eh? For records. Give it a rest. Celia. Dad. Father. Just what in the hell is wrong with that Victrola right there? Celia. He's coming up to my room to listen to records. Mother. Honey, let them go. I think it's nice. Celia. See, Dad? Father, under his breath. I see. Close to detective's ear. What did you walk into, eh? He squeezes detective's wrist really hard. Now he speaks loudly. Why don't you just get the hell out? Celia. Mum, I want to talk to you about something. Father. Okay, go on up. Listen to that puke. That's what it is too, all of it. It's all junk now, ruined forever. You call that music? It's pitiful. The sister brings the detective into her room and shuts the door. She goes to the phonograph and starts a swing record. Organ playing, very faint, very scratchy. She starts to sway with the music. Her head, her shoulders. She looks to the detective. He is swinging too. She stands up and bares her breasts to the detective. Celia. They hurt, so touch them easy. The father is mounting the stairs. He comes down the hall and listens at his daughter's door. Inside, the detective is kissing Celia, who has now removed her blouse. Father, yelling through the door. You call that music? Celia. Oh, shut up. She scratches a needle across a record. The music stops. Just shut up. Father, yelling. Ronnie used to sing. He really did. He knew a damn good song. Come out, and Mother and I will sing it to you. Celia is reaching for and opening a jar of medicated salve or ointment. She opens the jar and indicates to the detective to get some ointment and rub it on her breasts. The lid makes some noise as she turns it closed on the jar The father hears it. Father, now screaming, "Is that your ointment? Is it? Stop it, stop it, is it?" "I heard it." Celia, "I'll sing the song." As her breasts are being rubbed and her eyes close in ecstasy, she sings a beautiful love song. Very pure, very beautiful. Father, "Stop it. You're not going to sing his song in there with him." The mother climbs the stairs. Mother, "Is that Ronald's song I hear? Is it?" Father, "Yes." He begins pounding violently on the door, frantically. "Come out of there! Come out of there! I mean it. I'll call the police. I'm going to get them now. They'll be here any minute." The father rushes downstairs past the mother, who stands confused. Celia, to detective. "He won't call them. He's all talk. Come closer to me. Touch me." As he does, "Don't do it that way." He changes ways. "Okay, that's better. Have to move a little, because I can't stand like you do." She starts swaying quite quickly back and forth. "Can't you kiss me?" "Yes, there. Wait, don't push in like that, though." The detective tries once more to kiss Celia, but she stops him again. Celia, "Can I lean a little bit? Can I lean a little bit? I have an earache, and I can't put my head back like that. It hurts. Hold my waist, so I can lean over, okay?" The detective is now holding her up as she is leaning way over to her right, her long hair almost touching the floor. Celia, "Let me lean over more. Now you can feel me. Don't let go with that hand. Use the other one." He starts feeling her breasts with his right hand, while he holds her up with his left. Celia, "A little bit less. They hurt. I told you that. I have to move my feet. Move your feet over some, okay? Yeah?" There are noises of steps outside the door. Several people. Celia, "Do you like police?" The detective turns frantically to look at the door. Detective, "Well, maybe not right now?" Celia, smiling. "No?" Detective, nervous. "No, not so much right now. Is there another way out of here?" Celia, as she stands up. "Go upstairs, through the door. Ask the nurse to let you out the back." Detective, "The nurse?" Detective, "But I think it should be Celia." Celia, "My grandfather's up there. He's real sick. Hurry up." There is a loud banging on the door. Father, yelling through the door, "Open up! I have the police!" Celia, "Come on, Dad. We're not doing anything." She hurries the detective up the back stairs. As he climbs the stairs, he can still hear the father yelling and Celia yelling back. Celia, "Send them away, or I'll tell them what you do to me." "I will." The detective enters a small room. A nurse stands next to the bed where an old man lies. The nurse turns and studies the detective. Detective, "She said you'd let me out the back door." The nurse, very calmly, "You'll have to get a saw and some lumber and make one then, because there sure isn't a door back up here." Detective, looking around frantically. "Oh yeah?" Old man, "I'm awfully sick. Did you know that? And then guess what?" Detective, "What's that?" Old man, starting to cry. "Someone must have snuck in here last night and glued my arms to the bed. The bastards. Can't move 'em. Can't move 'em now. Stuck down." Nurse, whispering to detective, "He's paralyzed. What about it? He won't care. And what can he do if he does? Do you want to kiss me? Real hot?" Detective, "I gotta get out of this house." Nurse, "Look at this." She shows the detective one of her breasts. Detective, as he studies it, "But I really have to go. Really." Nurse, "All right then." She puts her breasts away. Old man, "Hey, let me see. Let me see. Oh my God." The detective crawls out the window and looks around. He sees another building within jumping distance. He hurries across the roof and leaps to a small balcony of a neighboring building. He crosses the balcony and goes through a very dark room to an interior hallway high in the building. Suddenly, a policeman appears, climbing a staircase. The policeman grabs the detective and pulls him along the corridor. Policeman, he almost got away. But how would he like to remember this? The policeman shoves the detective's head into a room where a small boy is hit in the back of the head with a rock. Policeman, or this. He shoves the detective into another room where a bird with a broken neck is doing backward somersaults. Policeman, or this. He shows the detective the next room. In it, he sees a stairway as if coming down from above. Slowly, someone is descending the stairs, but all he sees are the feet, coming down, closer, frighteningly close. Policeman, or this. He shows the detective the next room. In it, the detective can see the shape of a woman. He looks closer. He sees two breasts. As screams are heard, echoing horribly in the distance. Suddenly, there is a spark shooting out of a wall socket in the corridor. The detective notices, then looks up. The policeman is gone. Then, above the detective hears a loud screeching sound. as the light is drained from the overhead bulb. The detective moves slowly to the end of the corridor and starts climbing some stairs. He climbs higher and higher. Each flight of stairs looks the same. Finally, he stops to rest. Just as he does, he hears something, a moan in distant wind. Then suddenly some music. Reminds me of you. The door opens and a beautiful girl appears. The detective cautiously goes to her. Girl. Hello. Detective. Hello. Girl. Who are you? Detective. I'm a detective. Who are you? Girl. Don't you know? Detective. No. Diana. I'm Diana. Detective. You are? You're beautiful. Diana. Do you think so? Detective. Yes. Diana. We're all going to the club tonight. Detective. Yes. What club is that? Diana. It's called the Circle Club. I'm putting on my makeup. Detective. Oh yeah? Diana. Do you want to come in? Detective. Yeah, sure, if it's all right. Diana. Come in. She takes the detective inside. He sits in an easy chair while she sits at her makeup table and starts getting ready to go out. Suddenly, the wall begins to shake very quietly. It begins to strain. The light on Diana's makeup table strains and dims. The light explodes as two sections of the wall blow out. Electrical wires bend into the room and begin to jump and flip like hissing snakes shooting out electrical sparks. The room darkens to a haunted feeling. Diana rubs a long line of her lipstick up her face, up her nose, eye, forehead, and into her hair before she flips backward out of the chair onto the floor next to the detective's chair. The detective is pushing a pincushion into his neck, and blood is forming in little dots. Both her eyes are wild. The detective strains and pushes the knitting needle into Diana's leg. Her eyes focus as she reaches out for him. The electrical violence reaches a fever pitch, then begins to subside. The ceiling light glows a bit brighter. Diana and the detective slowly come out of their fits and find they are looking into each other's eyes as she looks dreamily at the detective. Diana. You put a knitting needle into my leg. Detective. Yes. Diana. But why? Detective. So you wouldn't lose consciousness. If I hadn't, you would have died. Diana. I felt it saved me. May I touch your face? Detective. Yes. Diana. May I touch your lips? Detective. Yes. Diana. With my lips? Detective. Yes. They kiss. Diana. I want to be with you always. Detective. And I want to always be with you. Diana. It's a dream. Yes? Is it? Detective. It must be. Diana. Why? Detective. When I kissed you, I saw fire. We now see what he talks about, a wall of fire. And I saw that 3 of my fingers were on fire. We see 3 burning fingers. And I saw 3 explosions of light in the sky and streamers falling down. We see this. And I saw 3 people who couldn't walk. We see them. Diana, you did? Suddenly a friendly, large woman, the aunt, enters hurriedly. The aunt. Aren't you coming, Diana? Oh my dear, you look a dreadful sight. Whatever happened? Diana. I'd like you to meet my friend. He's a detective. He saved my life. The aunt. Oh my lord, are you two all right? Thank heavens. Oh, he's a handsome one. Diana. Yes, he is. This is my aunt. Didn't anything happen in other parts of the house? The aunt. No dear, the lights dimmed. We all had a jump, nothing more. Is that a knitting needle in your leg, darling? Diana. Yes, it is. It saved my life. The aunt. Oh, it did. Oh my, thank heavens. Hurry along. We're late for the club. Your pretty face is quite a mess, honey. Really it is. She leaves. Diana. With her very messy face, she turns to the detective. Would you like to take me to the dance tonight? Detective. Yes, absolutely yes. Diana. Do you think it's safe? Detective. I have a feeling we can do anything as long as we're together. Outside, Bill is standing in some bushes, looking up at Diana's house. The detective and Diana walk arm in arm down the sidewalk, along with Diana's uncles and aunts and friends. A group of at least 15 very dashingly and beautifully dressed people. They arrive at a striking entrance to the Circle Club. It is a gigantic white neon circle glowing against the black night sky. Underneath it is a smaller glowing circle, and passing through it, one enters the Circle Club. The detective and Diana look up at the big circle. The detective is struck by the power of the image and tries to figure something out inside his head. He shrugs off the thoughts and happily enters the club with all the others. Inside the nightclub, which is very elegant in a furtive sort of way, a maitre d' seats the large party at a big round table near the centre of a vast room. The place is crowded with fancy people. The detective and Diana are so in love. I think we've discovered a pair of lovebirds, don't you? Someone says. I think they make a darling couple. It's a perfect match. Interior, Deborah's apartment, night. This is a cozy setting. Bob, Dan, Deborah, and Ronnie are all sitting happily together in Deborah's living room. Deborah: Ronnie, you're such a love, and how hard you study on your homework. Ronnie's page, however, is blank, except for tiny scribbles of the symbols he showed the detective in the hospital. We move into a close-up of Ronnie. Interior, nightclub, deep city, night. Detective: I'm wild about love. Diana: Me too. Detective: How can life be so dreamy? Diana: I know. Drinks are served, large bottles of champagne. All sorts of little hors d'oeuvres are brought out. The party is getting happier and happier. An old gentleman proposes a toast. Old gentleman: To love. Everyone: To love. They drink. The detective asks Diana if she would like to dance. The music is by a large orchestra playing a Furtis-style waltz. Very beautiful. The detective and the girl hold each other tightly as they sway to the music. A large group of people enter the club. They are all smiling as they look around at all the other happy, smiling people. Man in crowd, smiling. Gee, this is a happy place. As they dance, the detective notices that the light coming from one of the table lamps is decreasing in intensity. He holds Diana tighter. He tries not to think about it, but it worries him. At the table, the old gentleman who gave the toast is reminiscent. A few people are half listening to him as they watch the dancing. Old gentleman, smiling, is revering. I had a girl like her once. I was in love. Her lips were red like this one's are. Her eyes were bright. I wanted to touch her and kiss her all the time. My love was so intense. No one could love that way, so strongly. The detective looks over to the bad lamp. It is now flickering and getting darker. He hears the light being sucked out of it. It goes out. The detective looks quickly around. All the other lights are still going. Back at the table, the talk of the old gentleman changes. Old gentleman: However, in this world, love like that doesn't last. It withers like the vine. It vanishes like the snow. It dries up like the leaves. It changes. The detective noticed another light flickering, and another. A low, ominous wind comes now along with the beautiful music. The old gentleman is now getting a bit upset with his memory of love, growing anger and tension at the table. Old gentleman: The love almost rots. It becomes rancid, sour, foul-smelling, putrefies the atmosphere, degenerates into loathing. I hated that girl. Let me tell you, she was a whore of the first order, a filthy whore, unclean. The detective sees 6 more small lights flickering. They screech as they go out. Others begin to notice. There's a growing uneasiness in the room. At the table, the old gentleman is enraged with his memory. He is almost foaming at the mouth with hatred and anger. Old gentleman: I despised everything she ever thought or said or did. She was like a plague, festering and bubbling, coughing up foul horror and sickness, the kind that makes a man plead to die, just to end the trial, just to be left alone, to be rid of everything, longing for unconsciousness. The detective is dancing very close to Diana. His eyes are closed. He opens them and moves to look into her eyes. They are in love, but there is trouble in this circle club. She sees him looking about, worrying. Diana: What is it? Detective: I don't know, something's wrong here. He suddenly sees Bill entering. Detective: Oh no, Bill! I think something is definitely wrong. I think the trucks are coming. Diana: Oh no! Light slowly starts to drain from the big light above the dance floor. There is a slow screeching, sucking sound with a decreasing light. Now the kitchen doors fly open. The cook stands trembling and screaming. Cook: All my animals, bleeding from the mouth. All my animals, going wild. My pig. Suddenly a small screaming pig rushes into the club, zigzagging all around crazily. The cook screaming and running after it. Everyone in the club is now tense, standing, looking around, worried. The orchestra plays, but musicians are missing notes and not following the score. The detective and Diana cling to each other. The bleeding pig races past them. Old woman: Oh my! A pig is loose! Oh my! Old gentleman: It's bleeding from the mouth! Look at the blood! Out in the street, the 2 giant trucks are coming toward the circle club, each truck shooting electrical sparks high into the air. The sound is deafening. Inside the club, the pig races into another crowd. More screams, then a loud gunshot. Man 1: I shot a pig! I shot a pig! Why did I do that? The lights are all flickering now, giving the place a strange nervous feeling. Sucking and screeching sounds getting louder and more frequent. Musicians playing horribly, erratic, nervous. The cook rushes up to the man who shot his pig. Cook: "My God, you shot my pig!" He tries to kill the pig shooter with his bare hands. People hold him back. Suddenly, a tall man with a beard, a pipe, and a black and red checkered lumber jacket pushes his way through the crowd to the dead pig. With a booming voice he speaks. Lumberman: "I can throw that pig." Cook: "Don't throw my pig." Pig shooter: "It's dead. What do you care?" Cook: "Don't throw it." Lumberman: "I can throw that pig farther than anyone can. By God, I know I can." Man in crowd: "I'll bet you can't throw that pig clear across the room." Lumberman: "Watch me. Move back," calling out very loud. "Watch out. I'm going to throw a pig over there." People begin frantically clearing away from the line of flight. Cook, holding his head between his hands: "Leave it alone. That was a damn good pig too. Now look at it." The lumberman grabs the pig by the hind legs, and like a chain ball he starts twirling himself and the pig, faster and faster. People scream and move back. The lumberman twirls faster. Everyone is watching him now. Bill moves closer to the detective. The detective has been watching the pig, but has kept an eye on Bill too. Bill is smiling in an evil way. The detective holds Diana closer. Outside, the big truck's round the corner. People are screaming. Sparks shoot crazily. Some people burst into flames. Others bounce or gyrate. Inside, the lumberman twirls violently with the pig one more revolution, then with tremendous force releases it. The pig flies wildly through the air, across the nightclub, and crashes into the far wall, bounces back with a squeak onto a table, crushing it to the floor. The sounds of the truck are now heard inside the club. All begin to go wild. Lumberman: "I knew I could. I told you all." Detective to Diana: "Take these. Here it comes." He jabs a knitting needle into each of her legs. Then he does the same to himself. He puts a pincushion inside his collar and forces the pins into his skin. The big light screeches like hell and blows all over the room. Other lights pulsate violently. A horse and 2 cows, all bleeding heavily from the mouth, come out of the kitchen. The horse whinnies horribly. Their eyes are wild. A horrible sound of buzzing, hissing, humming electricity is heard. Wall sockets spurt electrical sparks. As the room gets darker and the people start to get confused, absurdity runs rampant. People try to eat their hands or feet. They crawl on or under the tables. Their tongues get tied and they can't speak. Some more small table lamps begin to blow out. "I'll bet you I can spit," says one man. Out comes his tongue, but no spit. The lumberman's pipe starts spewing smoke in huge clouds. "Let's jump off a table," yells someone in a rage. The donut man appears on the stage. The detective is trying to turn himself in a circle while he's standing on his head. His girl, Diana, is in a fetal position, as if she is trying desperately to propel herself through water. Her tongue is cut and pressed against her cheek. People are running furiously for unknown destinations. The orchestra is totally confused and is playing very abstract sound arrangements. Some musicians even destroying their instruments in the process. The drummer is playing very complicated jazz timing, and the audience is beginning to shake and gyrate in robot-like movements. The music becomes more and more abstract sounding, like a syncopated barnyard button factory. All the while it's getting darker and darker. Then the blackcoats enter. They begin to violently zap people, while the donut man stands in front of the orchestra smiling and eating donuts. His eyes bug out with sadistic happiness. The blackcoats try to zap the detective and Diana, but they realize they are clinging to each other, and it is at this point they realize that their love is protecting them. They yell at the blackcoats. Diana: "You can't hurt us because we love each other so much." Detective: "She's right." Blackcoats: "But we can separate you." They grab Diana and pull her away from the detective. Blackcoat to detective: "Can you say separate?" The detective watches in horror as they drag her away. She is screaming desperately. Detective, hardly able to talk: "Come back." Their eyes watch each other until Diana disappears in the darkness. Sparks. All is death. Bodies barely move. Bill stands against a far wall staring at the detective. The orchestra is almost silent, only the barest, most abstract arrangement now very low, very strange. Suddenly in this darkness a man enters. The detective is so far gone he cannot see him clearly. The man walks silently through the bodies, but with his back to the detective. The man walks silently through the bodies, but with his back to the detective. The man extends his arms toward the far wall. Bolts of dark electricity issue from his fingertips and shoot into the dead pig. Now a horrible thing. The dead pig comes to life and stands up like a human, its hind legs growing longer. The pig stands in the darkness, its hind legs growing longer. The pig stands in the darkness, in front of the unknown man, and along with a very low, strange music. The pig says, "Life is a donut," then issues a horrifying laugh. The man and the pig both laugh then. The man and the pig both laugh then. The unknown man moves his hand up and down. The pig speaks again. Pig, slowly and strangely. "I know a man who is afraid of dogs." The donut man laughs. Bill laughs. The detective watches in horror, his mind trying, straining to cling to consciousness. Outside the trucks have just passed. The streets are quiet. The Circle Club sign is barely lit, but it is visible. Terry runs quickly down the street toward the Circle Club.